I'm Will Ortner. This is Chargers Now. And finally, I know you've all been waiting for it, anxiously anticipating the NFL draft. And you've been wondering, when is Ortner's mock draft going to come out? Well, my very first one is going to come out today on Monday, April 13th. I'm going to let you know what players I believe that the Chargers need to be targeting in this NFL draft. And I'm going to give you my picks because I've gone through all the needs that the Chargers have for this draft. And I've also gone through all of the picks. You'll find out just who I had the Chargers taking in today's video. Right now, there's a decent amount of needs for this Chargers football team. Four to be exact. Obviously, interior offensive line and edge rusher really stand out to me. Chargers need to find a way to get better at that guard position while also finding a way to replace Odafe Oweh. Interior defensive line, if there isn't going to be a Dexter Lawrence trade, you need to find a way to get better at that interior defensive line, at least depth-wise. And then, of course, a safety would be a big grab for this Chargers team as you try to get younger there. Now, the nice thing is there's four main needs. You have 5 picks really to play around with in this draft. So I'm very excited to see what you think of my draft picks and who I have the Chargers taking. Before we get into any of that, though, make sure you hit the thumbs up button on today's video. Our most liked video last week had 179 likes. Can we beat it? Can we top it? All you got to do, come in, hit that thumbs up button on today's video. Let's see if we can get to 200. My first choice at pick number 22 was Keldric Faulk, the edge rusher out of Auburn. Go Tigers. I know that's not exactly the right college that I should be saying that for. Why I like Keldric Faulk here is simple. Vega Ione was already taken. But when you are going to transition, if Ione is not there and the Chargers do not trade out, I think that Keldric Faulk is a fantastic addition to this team. He's a guy that is very long, ideal size and length for that defensive end position. He's also someone that's going to fit into what you want to do defensively. When you look at that edge rusher spot, when you come from the Mike McDonald coaching tree, much like Chris O'Leary does, our new defensive coordinator, you want defensive ends that can play both the run and the pass at a very high level. Now, Faulk, he did take a step back slightly in 25, but I would make the argument that in 2024, and you look at his stats there, that is a more accurate representation of what he can be. Last year's Auburn Tiger team, not very good, and you saw a lot of those guys end up kind of calling it quits. Another thing why I love Faulk here is because he is a younger player. He is someone who's going into the NFL draft early. Perfect for him to learn behind Khalil Mack. I think that Khalil Mack can help him grow as a player. Plus, if you want one of your young guys to learn from a future Hall of Famer, I don't know that anyone is better than a guy by the name of Khalil Mack. There's plenty of room for Faulk to grow. Now, you're going to ask him to come in and be a contributor, but you're not going to ask him to be a starter. And the way that this defensive line is going to work, there's going to be a high rotation factor that is going to be involved. So Khalil Mack can be the starter. Faulk, he can learn from him. He can grow into his body and end up being one of the top edge rushers in the National Football League. If there is going to be someone that can reach his potential, I'm telling you right now, Keldric Faulk can do that, and he can be a great addition, not just next year, but for multiple years down the line as this Chargers team kind of comes into a big championship window that seems to be opening up right about now. Keylan Rutledge is my second player that I have this Chargers team taking. He's going to be picked at number 55. I think general manager Joe Hortiz could do a lot worse than going out and getting a player like Rutledge. Now, he's someone who has a ton of starts under his belt, and while he does struggle at times with balance and recovery, guess what? I don't need a lot of my interior offensive linemen to do. Be super balanced and recover a lot because you're going up against guys that are not as elite as some of the edge rushers in the National Football League at rushing the passer. Now, a guy like Rutledge is someone who played in a multitude of different positions along the offensive line, so he also gives you some depth there if there was another injury to Alt or to Slater. Someone that grades out very highly, plays the run and the pass at a very similar clip, doesn't give up a ton of sacks. In fact, doesn't give up any sacks, but doesn't give up a ton of hits as well. He's also someone who's coming out of Georgia Tech, so you know that you can play very good offensive line out of that crew. We've seen a lot of Georgia Tech offensive linemen come in and have a lot of success. This kid, flat out, in my opinion, is a mauler, and I believe that if you add him into the interior offensive line here for the Chargers, he's going to fit two purposes. One, you don't have to start Trevor Penning. Yay. Two, He is a pretty good addition to this team for a depth standpoint. I briefly touched on it earlier, but he can play offensive guard as well as offensive tackle. He's a mauler. He is going to get into a bar fight with you. And when I'm thinking about my interior offensive linemen, I want guys that are willing to go to war for my team. I want guys who are going to not be afraid to get into a bar fight with opposing defensive linemen. He's mean, he's nasty, he's got an attitude, and you know what head coach Jim Harbaugh says? The human body craves contact, and that's someone in Rutledge. He really craves a lot of contact. I want to make sure that I say thank you from producer Searle and myself. We hit 3,000 subscribers this morning. It means the world to me. Thank you guys so much for coming in, hitting that sub button. We started the channel in January, already at 3,000 subscribers. That's so freaking awesome. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure that you do so now. We're going to have you covered on all the latest Chargers news and rumors, and we're going to make sure that we get daily videos out to you, that I guarantee. Next, let's talk about Kamari Ramsey, safety of USC, because I got him being drafted in the 3rd round to this Los Angeles Chargers team. This is a guy that can do a lot of different things. He's a player that has played both safety positions, but can also get put into that nickel spot. When I look at Ramsey, that's the perfect type of player for this type of defense because he doesn't really fit into one spot. He kind of fits into a multitude of different places. And if defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary is as good as he is supposed to be touted as, he's going to be able to find a position for Ramsey to play where I really think you can see him reach his full potential. Now, obviously, he's got some injury issues, and he's someone who has had to kind of fight through those for multiple different years now. So we're going to have to pay attention to those injuries, issues, and to the medicals of a player like Ramsey. But if the Chargers think that he is someone that's going to be very good for this team, look at that 2024 stat line. It's impeccable for a guy playing a safety position. I believe that Ramsey could be viewed as the steal of this draft a couple of years down the line. I think right now, if you were able to go back and redraft the 2025 NFL draft, we're talking about Nick Emmanwori potentially being a top 10, top 15 draft pick instead of someone who ended up falling to day 2. I think that Ramsey has this type of ability as well. The difference is that Ramsey, he's got the injury issues that he's had in the past. That's something that Emmanwori didn't necessarily have. When we look at the safety depth chart for this Chargers team, obviously Tony Jefferson is someone who is still playing at a very high level, but it's important to note that he is basically year to year. Eventually, at some point, he is going to end up calling it quits. So this could be a great spot for Ramsey to come in, learn from Jefferson. It's also a great spot for Ramsey to learn from a guy like Derwin James, someone who, while I hope he's in LA for quite some time, he's got a contract that is coming due here very soon. So I think what you're getting out of Ramsey is a player that if he's able to stay healthy and stay on the field, you are getting better, you're getting deeper, and you're getting younger in that safety room. Next, let's talk about Chris McClellan out of Missouri. This kid, I think, is fascinating. I said, or may have asked the question, would Kamari Ramsey be the steal of this draft? I'm now wondering if it might be Chris McClellan. That might be recency bias, but when you look at the stat line for this kid who played 4 years in the SEC, you have a very high level of production, especially the last 2 years, but that sack number is really what's going to jump out to me. McClellan is someone who has had a lot of success, clearly can get after the passer. One of the things that he is better at on the interior of the defensive line. Now, it is important to note that when you're looking at interior defensive linemen, you're not necessarily looking for guys who are going to get after the passer, but any addition of someone who could get pressure is going to be much needed. And when I look at this depth chart right now between Tart, Tomlinson, and Caldwell, I do believe that there is room for another interior defensive lineman. And while I think that there's going to be growth from Tart and Caldwell in this system, and I believe that Tomlinson will hit the ground running, I do believe that the interior of this defensive line needs to be a bit stronger. There's a reason why there is a need there. There is a reason why the Chargers have been linked, and general manager Joe Hortiz is hopefully doing his due diligence on New York Giants interior defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence. I think that you can find a guy, if that Lawrence deal does not end up going through, on day 3 of the NFL draft, and I do believe that type of player in Chris McClellan could come in and you could see him have a lot of success with the Los Angeles Chargers, then grow into being a more complete player against the run. If you love the Los Angeles Chargers, make sure you hit that thumbs up button on today's video. Like I said, we're trying to get to 200. Can we do it? My last choice for the Chargers, and in this draft, I did have everyone stay pat. It's Malik Benson, wide receiver out of Oregon. Now, this is a 2-point approach here that I'm going with Benson. The first approach is that anyone that's coming out of the University of Oregon, I just kind of assume is going to be able to have a pretty quick lingo and adjustment time period with Justin Herbert. Now, I understand that Herbert had different coaches. Benson and Herbert were not at Oregon at the same time, but there is kind of an unspoken bond, and we know that Herbert does like to go back to Eugene to visit the team, and he has definitely watched Malik Benson play. What I'll tell you here with Malik Benson, I think that he's very impressive. Ended up coming on late as more and more wide receivers in that Oregon room got banged up. He's a guy who got into the end zone a lot and did not let the ball hit the ground. Now, when we look at his RAS score, there isn't going to be anything here that jumps off the page to you except for his 40. There is very few. I almost said no one, but that would be incorrect. There are very few players that are as fast as Malik Benson. And at any point, he is going to be able to take a ball and go 90 into the end zone. The question is can he do it in a slant? Can he do it in a vertical route? Can he do it in a medium throw? Yes, he can do all these things, plus he's going to add into that punt return and kick return game. When I look at the Chargers wide receiver depth chart, I don't necessarily know that we want to go younger as we look at the top 3 wide receivers with this crew, where Quentin Johnston is kind of the old veteran of this group. But when I look at a guy like Malik Benson, at any moment he can get gone, and I think we saw a lot of success from the New Orleans Saints and the Seattle Seahawks with a guy by the name of Rashid Shaheed. Now, while Shaheed might lack some of the skill sets that some wide receivers might really latch on to, where he kind of makes up for all of that is the speed that he possesses and his ability not just to catch the football and get gone as a wide receiver, not just to get open using his speed, but his ability on the special teams units. I believe that Malik Benson can be a similar type of player for this Los Angeles Chargers team. Plus, I just like watching fast players out on the field. The minute that you have a guy that's faster than everybody else and he gets the ball in his hands with a little separation, it's an electric thing to watch. Grade my latest Chargers mock draft down below in the comment section, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you personally feel I did. Did I hit the needs that you think the Chargers need to attack? Remember, there are a couple of times, specifically at pick number 22, where a player that I might want to draft wasn't necessarily there. So you can see it. I got Faulk, Rutledge, Ramsey, McClellan, and Benson all in this draft. Maybe you can do better. Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below in that comment section. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Like I said, thank you for helping us get to 3,000 subscribers. We are trying to get this thing as big as possible. The goal was to get to 3K before the draft. Let's see if we can get to 3.5. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you bolt up.